Everybody. Good morning to you. It's good evening to us. It's about 8:30, 8:45 in the evening, so it's time for a drink and dinner. But hope all of you are doing safe and well and everyone is healthy. I represent creative travel, and a lot of you have met me over the years. What makes us different is our focus on experiences. We want to show the countries we operate in, the cities, the destinations with a different angle, not just sightseeing. There's so much more to our cultures and where we live. My company has been in the business for 43 years. It's a family company, belongs to my family. And I think being family owned gives us a very strong advantage in the way we work, the way we think, and the way we treat our partners. We're also the most awarded company in this part of the world, thanks to the work my team does for all of us. We cover all of India, Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, Tibet, and the Maldives. Now, when I talk about this part of the world, I like to say it is a journey of the senses. It's what you see, what you touch, what you smell, what you hear, and what you taste. And wherever you go, you feel that. India, Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, Tibet, Maldives are 6 different countries with a very common feeling, with a very common philosophy. For us, treating our guests, treating our visitors is like welcoming God. No matter where you go, on which day you go, in which city you go, you will feel something different and you will feel touched. So I am going to now take you on a little journey through our lands. And today I have done India before. Today we're going to talk about Tibet, Nepal, and Bhutan. As you go along, please ask any questions in the box. Ganesha, Isabel, and Rosina will be looking at the chat box, and I will speak very slowly because mi español es muy poco. The first country we talk today is Tibet. Now, Tibet is a plateau. It is one of the tallest, highest countries in the world. Um, and it is a very, very hard and strange land. It is one of the most harshest, most difficult places in the world to live in. It is currently occupied by China. It's a part of the Chinese territory, but it borders Nepal. Nepal is in between India and Tibet. Mount Everest is on one side of Nepal and the other side with Tibet. The way to go to Tibet, we from our part, India and Nepal, can operate Tibet only through Kathmandu, Nepal. You can also visit Tibet from the Chinese side, which we can also organize, or if you are using a Chinese operator, they can help you. But our travels to Tibet are combined with a visit to Nepal. Tibet is commonly known as the rooftop in the world. It is the highest plateau in the world. Tibet is 3,500 meters and above. So you can imagine how the climate is and how the air, oxygen is. It is a very spiritual and exotic destination. And the views, the sights are very, very unique. It is a very religious and Buddhist destination. Operating in Tibet is complicated. It is the most complicated of our 6 countries we operate in, especially the visas. And I will talk about that separately because it's very, very important for you to know. The best time to travel Am I getting an echo, Ganesha?
You can continue. Somebody had
Okay.
the microphone open,
Okay.
but it's already
Okay.
closed.
Not a problem. Okay. The best time to travel to Tibet is April to November. It gets very, very, very cold. So operating in the deep winter months is very hard. March is normally closed because this is the anniversary of the protest, the uprising by Tibet. So China closes the border so that foreigners cannot come in. But April to November, April to October is when we normally operate all our business. Now, the Tibet visa is muy complicado. We need 3 working days in Kathmandu to make the visa. Now, when my team will plan the visa with you, we will work with you on the dates because Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is when the embassy, Chinese embassy in Kathmandu is open, and we can use only those days to process the visa. So suppose you come on Sunday. Monday, we will give the visa. Tuesday, they will do the visa. Wednesday, they will give the passports back. On Thursday, you can fly to Tibet. Now, there are clients where you give the passport and then you go to other places in Nepal, Pokhara, Chitwan, which you will see, and then come back and your visa is ready. But this is very important, and you will get a very detailed document from us on the process when um, planning the visa for Tibet. If you are going from China, then your Chinese visa will take you. If you're coming from Nepal, you need a special Tibet visa, not a Chinese visa. So that is the knowledge my team will give you when they work with you. Now, unlike other parts of the world, because Tibet is so high and so complicated, it is very important we give a very detailed briefing to the clients. Now, we will send this presentation to you, so please do not worry. And as I said, if there's any questions you have, please do ask us. But when they are in Kathmandu, and also before by email, but when they are in Kathmandu, they will get a very detailed briefing with us from us. Lhasa is very, very high. We recommend you spend at least 3 nights, if not two, 3 nights in Lhasa to get yourself acclimatized because it's so high. And it does not matter how fit you are. Everybody reacts differently to altitude. Even bodybuilders and wrestlers sometimes have problems. And people who do no exercise are absolutely okay. So every person reacts differently, but we are very careful over there. That's why the first day you do not do anything. You will just relax and let your body get adjusted. There are only two airlines that will fly from Kathmandu, which we will book. All the vehicles and hotels have oxygen tanks and oxygen rooms to help you because, as I said, the oxygen is very little over there, which I think is not a problem for some of you from Colombia, which is also very high. Not as high as this, but also high. Wi-Fi is available. Facebook and Google not available. WhatsApp will work sometimes. I know people use a VPN. You cannot bring guidebooks on Tibet. They are very sensitive to what people say because the Chinese are very, very much in control. Now, being a part of China, the infrastructure is fairly good now. So we have good buses, cars, and vans over there. Now, Tibet is something for at least 3 nights, 5 nights, or more. It is a large area. The facilities outside Lhasa become weaker, but it's very, as I said, unique. Lhasa means the lands of the gods, and it's a very ancient town. It's got a lot of the old influence, but now with the Chinese influence, also has some modern buildings, offices, and shopping center. But it's a very spiritual, holy place for Buddhism. You get to see the Potala Palace, the Jokan Temple, Bokhar Street, and a few other things that make the visit very interesting. Now, in Tibet, the sightseeing is not quick. We are not rushing you because of the oxygen levels. We take it very easy. The Potala Palace is a very important religious site. It is 13 stories high with over 1,000 rooms, and all the rooms are painted with golds and different colors. This is where the Dalai Lama used to live and where the 8 Dalai Lamas of the past are buried. It's a beautiful site that you can visit while you are in Lhasa. The Jokan Temple is regarded as one of the holiest temples in Buddhism and in Tibet. It was made by a Tibetan king for his Nepalese wife, so the temple is facing Nepal in respect to them. Sera Monastery, where the monks go to learn, to give education. What you see on the picture, the small picture up, is a very unique style of education through debate. So the monks spend a lot of time debating with each other, and it's a very interesting thing to see. And of course, the Bokhar market, where you can buy a lot of unique Tibetan handicrafts. Now, along with Lhasa, another important site is Shigatse. This is the second largest city in Tibet. It's 3,800 meters, and it's now a very modern city with the old stupas and monasteries. So it adds something different. Gyanse is a very small place, but very, very old. It used to be on the trading route. So this is where traders would stop, and this is where some very famous stupas were built. It has some nice hotels and other things to see as well. But a very, very beautiful sight is the Namso Lake. It's one of the most holiest of the 9 lakes in Tibet. It's not very far from Lhasa, and it's at over 15,000 feet. That's over 4,000 meters. It is regarded as one of the largest saltwater lakes in the world. You cannot stay there. There's no accommodation. There's some very cheap guest houses. And you can do interesting things. You get to ride on a yak, which is a very unique animal to Tibet and Ladakh in north of India. But the water is truly spectacular. You won't see anything like this in other parts of the world. Now, hotels in Tibet are very carefully chosen. For those of you who sell China will know that Chinese hotels and international brand hotels have their own unique style. So we try to use more of the international brands where English is not a problem. The rooms are a very good standard, and you will find all the information in English. Because in the Chinese run hotels, English is a very big problem, and the rooms are generally very smoky because the Chinese love to smoke. Now, apart from the sightseeing in Tibet, it is also an amazing place for trekking. Doing picnics in the villages, very unique festivals, interacting and dressing like the locals, putting your wishes, your prayers on a piece of paper and putting them up to the sky in the wind horse ritual, or just having unique village experiences. So there's a lot of unique things that one can do while you are there. Now, as we move to the next destination, which is Nepal, I will stop for a minute and ask if anybody has any questions first on Tibet, or would you like to wait? Ganesha?
Oh, thank you, Rajiv.
Rossi?
Mm, No, Rajiv, we don't have any questions
Okay,
yet.
good. Perfect. Now, Nepal used to be a Hindu kingdom. It is very different from Tibet, completely different. Buddhism, the Buddha was born in Nepal. The Buddha became the Buddha in India. And Buddhism spread all over Nepal, China, all over Asia, Sri Lanka, as well as India. Nepal is very important for Buddhism. This is a Buddhist stupa, but it is a Hindu country. 80% plus 90% is Hindu. It's a very interesting place. For those of you who have been to India and Nepal, you will know it is very, very different. Now, for the visas of Nepal, we will apply for it. You apply for it on arrival. It's muy facile. You need the passport picture, $30, and you fill the form when you arrive. Now, the best time to visit Nepal, for me, is all throughout the year. June, July, August is a little warmer and it rains sometimes, but Nepal being high, no altitude problems because it is not as high as Tibet, but because it's high, it is much cooler. So a lot of Indians go there in the summers to get away from the hot summers in North India. So it's can be visited throughout the year. But for our normal travelers, we operate a lot from August, September to April, March, April. Now, Kathmandu is a good international airport. There are flights not only from all over India, but to Bhutan, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, Japan, China, and of course, Dubai, Doha, Abu Dhabi, and Muscat. Qatar Airways has 5 flights a day from Doha to Kathmandu. So that will give you a little idea of the connectivity. Now, Nepal is also known for the Himalayas. 8 of the tallest mountains above 8,000 meters in the world are in Nepal. 75% of the Himalayas are in India. But Nepal did a very good job marketing their facilities for trekking, adventure, and many other things. And it's very, very beautiful. As I said, Lord Buddha was born in Nepal. He was a Hindu prince, but he became the Buddha in India. You may have heard of the Nepali Gurkhas. The Gurkhas have been a part of the British Army since 1816 and are regarded as one of the most fearless warriors in the world. They believe there is honor in dying on the battlefield. My grandfather used to command in the army, the Gurkha regiment, and I was taught how to walk by his Gurkha orderly, by his Gurkha butler. So it's a very special race for me. Nepal is also very famous for its wildlife. It used to be a kingdom, but now it is a democracy. Now, Nepal has a few very regular programs we operate. We operate Nepal alone, just by itself, also combination with India or Bhutan, and of course, Tibet. You can do 3 nights in Kathmandu, 5 nights Kathmandu Pokhara, 5 nights Kathmandu and the Chitwan National Park, or 7 to 8 nights by combining all three. Now, Kathmandu is a very congested but a very unique city. It is actually built in a valley that used to be a lake, and it is made up of many smaller towns. Patan, Bhaktapur, um, and Kathmandu town. All are very similar but very, very different. You see a lot of the old and ancient traditions. Pashupatinath Temple, one of the holiest Hindu temples in the world. Very important for Indians and Nepalese. For us, Nepal and India is almost like the same. They have a different style, but it's very, very close to us, and it's like our brother or sister. You get to see the stupas of Buddhism, and of course, visit the town squares, which are very pretty. They had a very bad earthquake almost 10 years ago, but now the country is very normal. Some of the old buildings had got affected, but not a lot of them. A very unique cultural aspect in Nepal is the living goddess, the Kumari. They take a girl, a virgin girl, who till 11, 12 is treated as a god, and people go and pray to her. So when you're visiting Kathmandu, you have the opportunity to go to her house, and if you're lucky, she will see you or you can see her. You're not allowed to talk to her or touch her. On the right side of this picture is Pashupatinath Temple, what I refer to one of the most important Hindu temples in the world. Foreigners are not allowed to go in, so we show it to you from the side where you can see what's going on. And of course, the temples of Buddhism, the stupas, which are very, very important to them. With Kathmandu, as I said, we can add Pokhara. In this picture of Pokhara, you see a mountain in the back, and that is called Fishtail Mountain. Now, I love Pokhara. It is very, very, very relaxed. It's a small, small town. This is one of the most important places in the world for adventure trekking, very light trekking, just a walk, or very, very heavy trekking if you want. Boat riding, pony rides. There's a beautiful lake called Feva Lake. And around the lake is a lovely little town where you can walk around, have a drink, eat a meal, or do some very, very local shopping. It also has the longest zip line in Asia over the mountains, which is a very cool thing to do. Not only can you see the culture and the lake, but as I said, also adventure. So you have the zip lining, you have the rafting, biking, trekking, mountaineering, something little for everybody. And for those of you who just want to sit and look at the mountains, you can do that as well. You don't have to do anything. So people go there just to relax as well, because the sceneries are spectacular. Nepal is very famous for its wildlife as well. The Chitwan National Park is one of the most important tiger parks in the world. And Nepal had very early on started protecting the tiger. It borders India. They have a lot of forests. Now, there used to be hotels and lodges inside the park. That's not allowed anymore. So you're outside. We used to do all the safaris by elephant. Now that is not done. You have a few hotels who can give you elephant rides, but today all the safaris are done by jeep. You see the rhino, which is amazing, the one-horned Indian rhino. Or if you're lucky, you see the tiger. It's a great experience. Very different from India, because in many parts of this park, the grass is very, very tall. We call it elephant grass because it goes above the elephants. And of course, for those interested in birding, there. We do safaris by canoes, by boats on the river, and there's also you interact with the local tribes. Nepal, of course, is most famous for what is called in Nepalese Sagarmatha or Mount Everest. The most common way we take you to see Mount Everest is by plane. Every morning, we have special flights going from Kathmandu for about 45 minutes that flies over the Himalayas, and you get to see Everest. We also have a very unique experience, which Creative Travel designed about 10 years ago, where you can go by helicopter and land in a place and have breakfast overlooking Mount Everest. Amazing for honeymooners, amazing for family. Ese es muy caro, but it's one of those once in a lifetime experiences which we deliver. The food in Nepal is very different from India. We love it. It's spicy and non-spicy. They have what we call momos, which is the bottom picture, very similar to dim sums, but it's a Nepalese way of doing it. And of course, the hotels in Nepal are very, very nice. The standard in North India, Delhi, Agra, Jaipur, Udaipur, which many of you may have seen or sold, is very unique and very high quality. When we go to other places, the experience is of a different level. Also very good, but not that luxury which you are experiencing in India. But the accommodations in Nepal is very special. Dwarkas is a heritage hotel that's full of old wooden windows. We have the Hyatt Regency, sorry, a hotel which I like very much because it has a lot of very local touches, and the very old and very famous Salty Crown Plaza. When you go to Chitwan, the hotels there are very much into nature. They bring the nature in and you out. And in Pokhara, there are few unique hotels are made so that you can see the mountains and enjoy the peacefulness. There is no city feeling over here. And we do unique things in Nepal, exploring the markets, meeting the Gurkhas I told you about, the warriors, and a lot of volunteering for those of you who want to do something different. Now, Tibet, Nepal, Bhutan. I left Bhutan for the end because it is one of my favorite places in the world. My first visit to Bhutan was in 1994 on my honeymoon. And there were like only two major hotels and a lot of small guest houses. It is very hard to explain what Bhutan is because there is truly no country in the world like it. I have been to 75 countries, very diverse, and there's nowhere in the world that even looks like, that even feels like Bhutan. When I was there on my first time, I remember buying a bottle of water for 40 rupees. I left 50 rupees and we got up from the table. The man came running after me to give me the 10 rupees back. He did not understand the concept of tipping. And I thought that was so special. It is the only country in the world that is carbon negative. It is recycling carbon for China, for Nepal, for India, because they have no pollution. To get a visa for Nepal is something we will apply for. You cannot enter, you cannot get the visa finally till the payment has been made to Nepal. They're quite strict. There is a minimum selling price of Bhutan, which is $225 per person per day, per night. And the reality is today we sell very little at that level. We're mostly selling at a higher quality, which did not used to exist before. You have to have the visa number on the ticket to arrive. So those are the things that we will work with you. Bhutan, again, like Nepal, can be visited throughout the year. Although it does get warm and rain in June, July, August, it is still very busy because that is the Indian summer vacation. There are only 2 airlines flying into Bhutan. The Paro Airport, which is the main airport in the country, is one of the 10 most difficult, dangerous airports in the world because it's in the middle of the valley. So as you can see, you can fly from India, which is what a lot of our clients do, or you fly into Kathmandu and go, or you fly into Bangkok. It depends on where the guest is coming from and what their plan is. There are no big buses in Bhutan. So even for groups, we have to use the small buses in which we put 10 or 12 people, or we have to use 4-wheel drives. It's a very FIT-oriented destination or for small groups. We have done incentives, but those are very unique and tend to be very, very high-end. I tell people, Bhutan is for somebody who is well-traveled, who has experienced the world. Because you do not go to Bhutan expecting the 4 seasons, shopping malls, and Michelin star restaurant. You go to Bhutan expecting to find a side of human life which does not exist anywhere else in the world. Bhutan is known for its colorful festivals, its architecture, of course, the view of the Himalayas, the textiles, its monasteries, and its very unique tradition. But what makes Bhutan the most unique? It is a country that does not like to measure money. It measures happiness. And if you go online and Google this, the concept of GNH, gross national happiness, is very, very unique to Bhutan. And it does consider itself as one of the happiest countries in the world. In fact, everything the government does, everything, has to fit within the 4 rules they have on happiness. Good governance, sustainability, preservation, and environmentalism. Now, I like to recommend minimum 5 nights in Bhutan, so 6 days. Paro, the gateway, the capital, Punakha in Thimphu. People also do it for 4, but I find that somebody who's coming here really wants to absorb it. And to me, Punakha is very, very special. The capital is, of course, Paro. Paro is it is high. There is some altitude issues once in a while, but not that high as Tibet, of course. This is where the international airport is. Now, one of the most unique things we see in Paro is the Tiger Nest Monastery, and I will show you some more pictures. This is about a 2-hour walk, or you can take a donkey up the mountain, very narrow paths, to see what I consider one of the most beautiful buildings ever in the world. Unfortunately, you could not take pictures inside. You visit the government buildings, you visit the old schools and monasteries. Thimphu is the capital. It is about 2 hours drive from Paro Airport. So normally when you go to Bhutan, you will arrive in Paro and go straight to Thimphu, then Punakha, and back to Paro for 2 more nights. So 2 nights Thimphu, 1 night Punakha, and 2 nights in Paro. So Punakha, being the capital, is a little larger. It has only one traffic light. They have no traffic jams, no pollution. I remember going and I could read a book under the moonlight. The sky is so clear. Where the government is, the religious government and the democratic government, they are in zongs, what you see, DZONG, which is what they call their monasteries. You get to see the memorial of the former kings, the school of medicine, and the painting schools, the artist schools. It's a very, very engaging destination. Punakha is one of the oldest towns in Bhutan. The Punakha Zong, the Punakha monastery, is the oldest existing monastery in the country, and it's still preserved in its very unique way. And people, the monks, and the government officials are still living in all of these. For people with more time, you can also visit Bumthang, which is further out into the countryside, and see more of nature and different type of monasteries. Or you can visit Wangdu, which is another destination that is further deeper into the country. But most of our guests have limited time, so the 5 or 6 nights is what generally we operate. Now, Amman is one of the most aspirational countries in the world. Very few people go there. So the hotels, sorry, the hotels there are very, very special. Amman has 5 hotels over there. So does Six Senses, and we work with both the chains very, very closely. Uma has 3 beautiful hotels. We also have 2 Le Meridians and a local brand called Zivaling, which is one of my favorites because it's very uniquely designed, not modern, not a modern style, but very local, but with all the modern amenities. We have a Taj from India and other resorts of different price levels. Now, one of the most special things of Bhutan, of course, are the festivals. And all their festivals are based around the religion and based around the monasteries. So there are festivals across the year. And we often organize trips for our guests during the festivals when the color is truly, truly amazing. There's very limited aircrafts into Bhutan. So the planning for the festivals has to be done well in advance. And another unique part of Bhutan are the experiences. Archery is the national sport. Something called the hot stone bath. It's like a spa, like a massage, like a sauna, which you get only in Bhutan. Something with the farmhouses, the traditional dances, cooking lessons, and a very special ceremony with the buttermilk. Now, some of the pictures I'm going to show you are pictures that I took myself on my last few visits. This is the monastery in Paro. Sites of Thimpu. That is Punakha. All the color you see is made with vegetable dyes, vegetable paint, all natural. This is the walk up to Tiger's Nest. What is unique about Bhutan is the faces, is the people. And that's why you go to the country. Every country in the world has culture. Every country in the world has sightseeing. But to see the smiles is just truly, truly different because I have not seen anything like this anywhere in the world. I told you about archery, which is their national sport, and Bhutan are very, very strong archers in the Olympic Games. This picture which you will now see is Tiger's Nest Monastery. Inside is nothing but color. All the walls all the floors, all the ceilings are painted. It is truly so amazing. And you cannot take the camera inside or the cell phone inside. Otherwise, I wish I could show you what it looks like. I was walking in one of the towns in Bhutan. And this picture, which you might see now on the left side, these boys came running to me. And it was just such a natural picture that I took. It is the law in Bhutan that you have to wear the national costume all the time, the men and the women. But in all my visits to Bhutan, this was my favorite experience. In the middle picture, you see a little boy in the back in a blue shirt. That is my son. We were in this monastery. And when we went inside the monastery, and it is the oldest monastery in Bhutan, out of the monastery, out of one of the rooms, about 20 children came out. They were having their class. These are monk children. And we became very serious. We became, holy children, studying to be priests. Next thing we know, all of these children started running around. They started screaming, shouting, throwing the ball, throwing stones, exactly like all our normal children do. But this young boy was very, very unique. And I have these pictures, more of these on my Facebook. And I don't have you in front of me to ask you the question. But if you see the boy, you will see why he's unique. He is wearing purple Crocs. Old culture, religion, and a very modern side. The monks, they have cell phones. They have motorcycles. They have Ray-Ban glasses. But this boy, who I call the monk in the purple Crocs, to me is the ultimate symbol of the old and the new. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have taken you through 3 very, very unique destinations. Each one is different. Each one has a different side to it. We also, as I said, there's India, which many of you may have seen or known before, Sri Lanka, and the Maldives.